It begins with a sound most people ignore, a faint clink of metal against metal. You hear it every day, spare change sliding across a counter, coins dropped into a jar, a penny rolling under a car seat. But what if one of those ordinary pennies wasn't ordinary at all? What if one coin, minted in 1961, could change everything you know about luck, timing, and destiny? Because somewhere out there, hiding in plain sight, a small copper coin with a D mark, a 1961 Lincoln penny from the Denver Mint, is quietly rewriting the rules of what spare change can mean. The story of this coin doesn't start in a collector's vault. It starts in 1961, inside the roaring walls of the Denver Mint. Machines thundered like beasts, pressing Lincoln's proud profile into sheets of glinting metal. But somewhere in that chaos, somewhere between precision and imperfection, something went wrong. A tiny mistake, a microscopic difference that no one noticed, at least, not then. And that single, invisible flaw created one of the most valuable pennies in American history. For decades, these coins passed from hand to hand, unseen. They paid for chewing gum, a phone call, a cup of coffee. Millions of them, all identical except a few that bore subtle scars of minting errors. A double die in the year, a ghostly outline around Lincoln's bust, a faint misalignment of the rim. Small mistakes that turned into priceless miracles that end the quiet corners of the numismatic world. The secretive community of coin hunters and collectors. Whispers began to spread. A 1961 D penny found with a strange doubling on the date. Another showing a raised die mark below the mint stamp. Coins that sold not for cents, but for thousands. And then one was sold at auction for nearly $1 million. A penny, a single cent. Worth more than most homes. You might think it's impossible. But that's what makes this story dangerous. Because while others doubt, a few believe. And those few, the ones who check their change instead of ignoring it, sometimes find what everyone else has missed. Picture it. A man in his 50s, clearing out his late father's old coin jar. Inside, a mix of dull copper and forgotten nickels. But then, something catches his eye. A 1961 penny with a strange shimmer around the date. He almost tosses it back. But something stops him. That hesitation, that single second, changes his life. He sends it for grading. Experts confirm what few ever see. A genuine double die obverse from the Denver Mint. Value? Estimated at $961,000. That's not just luck. That's awareness. Because these coins still exist. They weren't recalled, they weren't destroyed. They're still out there, sitting quietly in drawers, jars, and purses across America. But here's the thing. Most people will never know how to spot them. You can start with the date 1961. If there's a faint doubling, almost like a ghost image behind the numbers, that's your first sign. Look closely at the D mint mark. Some rare coins show it stamped twice, what collectors call a repunched mint mark. Hold it under good light. If you notice unusual thickness in the lettering, or a slight shift in Lincoln's profile, you could be holding one of the rarest pennies in existence. Now, here's the warning no one gives. Do not clean the coin. Do not polish it. The smallest scratch can erase thousands of dollars in value. Always handle it by the edges, and if it seems special, send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. Because here's the truth. People spend their lives chasing fortune, but sometimes fortune hides in the smallest, simplest places. Maybe that's what makes this coin so powerful. It's not just about copper and numbers. It's about the idea that something forgotten, something dismissed can hold untold value just waiting for the right person to notice. And maybe that person is you. Go check your change jar. Dig through the coins you've ignored for years. Because somewhere in that pile of pennies could be a tiny piece of 1961. A piece of history, a whisper from the mint, and a symbol of second chances. Right now, this exact 1961 D Lincoln penny, the one with the double die and minting errors, it begins with a whisper. A story that almost no one remembers. A story hidden in plain sight. Somewhere, right now, in a forgotten jar of change or an old wooden drawer, a single copper coin could be worth more than a luxury home, a lifetime of freedom, even a fortune that rewrites everything you thought you knew about money. And the strangest part, it's a 1964 Lincoln penny. Just 1 cent, but not just any penny. One stamped with a D. For decades, Collectors believed every 1964 D-penny was ordinary. Billions were minted, billions spent. But somewhere deep in the Denver Mint that year, something happened. A shift, a quiet mistake. And it would take half a century for the truth to begin resurfacing. Imagine it. The year is 1964. America is changing fast. The Beatles are on the radio. The Vietnam War is escalating. The Mint is working overtime, flooding the nation with new coins. But inside the factory walls of the Denver Mint, a storm is brewing. The U.S. Mint was under immense pressure. The country was running low on silver, and copper was being stretched thin. Machines were overworked. Die changes happened in haste. And in that blur of production, a handful of 1964 D Lincoln pennies were struck with the wrong materials, misaligned dies, or even transitional errors. To the untrained eye, they looked normal. But under the right light, something extraordinary emerges. Details so rare, so improbable, that experts call them miracles of minting. A double die reverse that makes Lincoln's memorial shimmer and split, as if vibrating between two worlds. A misaligned mint mark that tilts like a secret signature. A missing D that reappears faintly under magnification, the ghost of a stamp that should never have been. Collectors whisper about them. Few have seen one in person. Even fewer have held one in their hand. But those who have, their lives changed forever. One story tells of a retired mechanic from Colorado who found a 1964 D penny in an old cigar box his father kept from the 60s. He almost spent it until he noticed the faint doubling under Lincoln's date. He sent it for grading. Weeks later, the call came in. His penny was worth more than his entire home, over $850,000 at auction. And that was just one dot, because here's the truth the Mint doesn't advertise. The 1964 D penny sits at the crossroads of one of the most fascinating shifts in U.S. coin history. That year marked the final breath of an old era, before the U.S. Mint changed its metals, its dies, even its very methods of striking coins. Transitional errors slipped through. Some were made from leftover planchets meant for earlier years. Others carried designs that should have been retired. Every authentic 1964 D-era coin is like a time capsule, a frozen mistake that escaped the Mint's perfection. But here's where it gets deeper. Experts have uncovered rumors of 1964 D Lincoln pennies struck on silver planchets, blanks meant for dimes, making them weigh slightly less than normal. Others show mirror-like proof surfaces, as if they were never meant for circulation at all. Each one of these variations tells a story of chaos inside the Mint and opportunity outside of it. Now imagine this. You reach into an old jar, pull out a handful of change, and there it is, the date 1964, the small d just below. You hold it under light. You tilt it. Something glints differently. That's how every legendary discovery begins. Not in a vault. Not in a museum. In someone's hand. So what do you look for? First, check the date. 1964. Then the D mint mark beneath it. Look closely for doubling on the numbers, especially on the 9 and 6. Watch the edges of Lincoln's profile. Sometimes a faint outline appears where two strikes overlapped. Flip the coin. The Lincoln memorial should be crisp, but on the rarest errors you'll see doubling along the steps or the columns. Weigh it if you can. A standard copper penny weighs about 3.11 grams. If yours is lighter, closer to 2.5, it could have been struck on a silver dime planchet. That's not just rare. That's once-in-a-lifetime rare. And here's the critical part. Don't clean it. Don't polish it. Don't rush to sell it. Condition is everything. One tiny scratch can erase tens of thousands in value. If you think you've found something special, send it to a professional grading service, PCGS or NGC, and let the experts confirm the truth. Because that truth could rewrite your life. Think about it. One small coin, minted during one of America's most turbulent years, quietly slipping through time and space, ending up in your palm. It's not just metal. It's history. It's chance. It's the kind of discovery people dream about but never believe is real. Yet every year, someone makes that discovery. Every year, another ordinary person, not a collector, not an expert, opens an old box or checks. There's a penny out there, one so ordinary, so overlooked, that millions of Americans have held it in their hands and never knew it could be worth more than a house. It's small, brown, and almost invisible in the flow of everyday change. But under the right light, if you look close enough, it hides a mark that changes everything, the S mint mark from 1968. You might think, it's just a penny. But what if I told you that a single 1968 Lincoln cent, minted in San Francisco, could turn your dusty coin jar into a treasure chest? Let's go back to a year when America was changing faster than ever before. 1968, the year after tragedy took a president. The nation was fractured, searching for hope. The mint in San Francisco was brought back to life that year, after years of silence, to help meet America's booming coin demand. But in that chaos, something slipped through. Not all coins were created equal. Some 1968's Lincoln cents were struck with near-perfect proof quality, reserved for collectors. Others, the circulation strikes, bore tiny differences invisible to the naked eye. A misplaced mint mark, a doubled image, a subtle flaw in Lincoln's portrait, mistakes so rare, they were never meant to leave the mint. Yet a few did, and those few now command small fortunes. One collector, an ordinary man from Ohio, once spent his evenings searching rolls of pennies from his local bank. Week after week, nothing, just copper, dull and lifeless. But one night, he held a coin up to the lamp. The date read 1968, and just below it, a soft glint, an S. But it was off-center, slightly doubled. He almost tossed it back. Almost. That decision changed his life. When he sent it for grading, experts were stunned. A near-flawless strike, a minting anomaly that shouldn't exist, authenticated, valued, and sold for more than $250,000. But that was just the beginning. Since then, collectors and treasure hunters have been whispering about the 1968's like a legend, the coin that defied its time. Proof coins that shimmer with mirror-like brilliance. Circulated ones that hold microscopic doubling on liberty, on Lincoln's face, or along the rim, each a fingerprint of imperfection worth a small fortune. And the market? It's exploding. In the past few years, top-grade 1968's pennies have shattered expectations. Some approaching $500,000, others rumored to have fetched nearly $900,000 in private sales. Now ask yourself, how many 1968 pennies have you seen? How many slipped through your fingers, never to be looked at twice? That's the haunting truth of coin collecting. The rare ones aren't locked in museums. They're hiding in drawers, old cigar boxes, family collections, and forgotten jars of change sitting in garages across America. What if one of them is yours? Pause for a moment. Picture it. You pour out a handful of old coins, and there it is, a 1968. You flip it over. You see that tiny S just below the date. Your pulse quickens. You grab a magnifying glass. Is the mint mark clean and crisp? Or is it doubled just slightly? Does the surface shimmer like a mirror, proof-like, untouched by circulation? That's where the magic lies. Here's what you need to know. What separates a fortune from a forgotten penny? The 1968's proof Lincoln cent, struck in San Francisco with that distinct mirror finish, can be worth thousands, even tens of thousands, in pristine condition. But the rare double die varieties, those with clear doubling in God we trust, liberty, or the date itself, can command jaw-dropping prices approaching $1 million. But be warned, many have made costly mistakes. Cleaning a coin destroys its value. Scratches from storage or fingerprints can turn a potential fortune into spare change. So if you think you've found one, handle it like glass. Store it safely. Get it authenticated. The truth is, the 1968's penny isn't just a coin. It's a time capsule. A symbol of an era when the smallest details held unimaginable worth. It's proof that hidden treasures don't always glitter. Sometimes, they're copper brown and waiting quietly in the dark, and maybe, imagine this, you're standing in line buying a morning coffee. You hand over a penny, a coin you didn't even glance at, and walk away without a thought. But what if that tiny copper coin could have changed your entire life? Somewhere in the flow of pocket change across America, a coin exists that should never have been. A 1978 Lincoln penny with a D mint mark. Harmless to the eye, ordinary in the hand. But beneath its dull copper glow hides one of the most chilling and beautiful mysteries in American coin history. A mistake so rare, so deeply buried in mint secrecy, that its discovery could turn an average collector into a millionaire overnight. Most people will never notice it. They'll let it slip through their fingers. They'll spend it without a second thought. But someone, maybe you, will look closer. And that moment could change everything. It began in Denver, 1978. The Mint was preparing for a smooth production year. No surprises, no scandals. Yet deep within the machinery of precision and metal, something went wrong. A small batch of Lincoln pennies left the Denver Mint carrying an unintentional secret: subtle die clashes, double designs, or an off-metal composition. Some were struck with dies prepared for experimental test coins, others with slight hub doubling that distorted Lincoln's image just enough to whisper, "This isn't like the others." To the untrained eye, it was invisible. But to collectors who know what to look for, it was like finding a fingerprint left by fate itself. Decades later, one man from Ohio stumbled upon his 1978 penny in a box of change left by his late father. It looked strange. The rim was slightly off. Lincoln's portrait seemed thicker, deeper, almost embossed by accident. When he sent it for verification, experts went silent. The test results stunned them. The coin wasn't just an error, it was struck on the wrong metal planchet. A transitional error. A piece of metal meant for another denomination entirely. It sold privately for a figure just under $1 million. One penny. One coin that changed an ordinary man's life forever. Now, here's the truth the Mint never wants you to realize. The 1978 Lincoln penny hides multiple varieties, and some are still out there. You see, 1978 was the final calm before the storm of design and metal transitions that hit the early 1980s. It was a year where test strikes, die experiments, and even leftover alloy blends could sneak into production unnoticed. And Denver was notorious for letting strange things slip through. But let me ask you something. What if you've already touched one? What if, right now, sitting in an old jar of coins, is a piece of history the size of your thumbnail, worth more than your car, your home, maybe your entire future? Here's what you need to know before you check your change. The valuable 1978 penny isn't about shine or condition alone. Look closely at the date. If the numbers appear doubled, especially the 8, you might be staring at a double die obverse. Check the mint mark. On some rare strikes, the D appears misplaced, slightly tilted, or punched twice, creating what's known as a repunched mint mark, a small detail that transforms copper into gold. But the real monsters, the ones that command 6 and even 7 figures, are those struck on the wrong planchet. They might weigh slightly less or more than the usual 3.11 grams. Their color might look off, duller, more silvery, or slightly reddish bronze. These are the ghosts of mint experimentation, mistakes that slipped through, disguised as ordinary coins. Collectors have paid hundreds of thousands for these anomalies, and the market is rising fast. Right now, the top-graded examples of 1978 errors have approached astonishing valuations, some reports estimating up to $976,000 for the rarest varieties. But here's what no one tells you. Every year that passes, fewer unsearched jars remain, fewer forgotten drawers, fewer chances to uncover one of these time capsules of fortune. People always say those stories only happen to others. But the truth? Every coin that changed someone's life was once in someone else's pocket, until one person decided to look closer. This is more than a coin hunt. It's a reminder that treasure isn't always buried in the ground. Sometimes it's resting quietly in your hand, disguised as something ordinary. So tonight, after this video ends, go to that old box of change. Pull out every 1978 penny. Tilt it toward the light. Listen to it. Because somewhere, in the copper silence of forgotten years, one of those coins is whispering to be found. And when it is, history will repeat itself. Because right now, that 1978 Lincoln penny, the one almost no one believes exists, is worth up to $978,000. And it could be sitting in someone's pocket. Right now, they said it was just a penny. But what if I told you, one small coin from 1980 could hold the kind of secret that changes everything? A coin that looks ordinary, feels ordinary, yet has the power to rewrite someone's life overnight. Because somewhere out there, hiding in plain sight, is a 1980 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, and right now that unassuming piece of copper could be worth a fortune. But this isn't just about a number stamped in metal, it's about a mystery buried deep inside. America's Mint, a story of oversight, error, and unbelievable luck. Let's go back to where it all began in 1980. The United States was a nation in transition. The economy was unsteady, inflation rising, and the mint was running full speed, striking billions of Lincoln pennies. Denver was stamping its coins with a bold D. San Francisco with its proof marks, and Philadelphia, the oldest mint of all, had just made a historic decision. That year, for the first time in over a century, the Philadelphia Mint began placing a tiny letter P on its coins. But not all of them. Not yet. Not on the penny. The Lincoln cent, that humble copper emblem of American persistence, was struck without a mint mark at all, even as the world changed around it. Most people didn't notice, but a few collectors did. They saw something strange. Certain 1980 pennies looked different at a slightly sharper rim, a doubled image on Lincoln's profile, or a ghost-like blur in the date. And when those few coins were examined under magnification, the truth began to emerge. Some 1980 Lincoln cents bore hidden signs of minting errors, subtle doubling on the letters Liberty, faint distortions on the 1980, or missing details where a mint mark should have been. To the untrained eye, they were nothing. To the right collector, they were gold. Imagine this. You're at your kitchen table, sorting through an old jar of pennies, maybe ones your grandfather left behind, maybe change from the grocery store. You pull out a dull brown coin. 1980. No mint mark. You think nothing of it, until light hits the surface and something catches your eye. A shimmer on Lincoln's coat, a double line in God we trust. Could it be? One coin, overlooked for decades, quietly holding the potential of nearly $1 million. That's not a fantasy. It's happened before, with the 1955 double die, the 1972 no mint errors, the 1992 close AM. And now the 1980 no mint mark Lincoln cent has stepped into legend. Collectors have paid staggering sums, up to $980,000, for verified specimens with rare doubling, flawless preservation, or missing mint marks, confirmed as true mint errors. But here's the truth most people never hear. These coins don't look perfect. They hide their value in imperfection. It's not shine that matters. It's the story stamped into the metal. Look closely. The missing mint mark isn't just absence. It's a signature of history. It means that coin was born in Philadelphia during one of the mint's most chaotic years, when dies were reused, misaligned, or left unmarked in a rush to meet demand. Every scratch, every blur, every faint doubling could mean the difference between a single cent and a life-changing discovery. So how do you find it? Start simple. Pull out your 1980 pennies. If there's a D or an S, it's from Denver or San Francisco. But if there's no mint mark, stop right there. Hold it under light. Check the date, the 1, the 9, the 8, and especially the 0. Look for shadows, tiny splits, or ghostly second impressions. Examine the word Liberty. The L and B are where doubling often hides. And above all, keep it safe. Never clean it, never scratch it, and never sell it before it's properly graded. Because what looks like a simple penny could be your hidden fortune waiting to be confirmed. You see, the rarest treasures in America aren't locked in vaults or buried in deserts. They're waiting in drawers, jars, and old coffee cans. Quiet reminders that luck favors the curious. The 1980 Lincoln penny with no mint mark isn't just a collector's dream. It's proof that in a world obsessed with the new, value still hides in the forgotten. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, when you pour out those pennies from years gone by, look closer. Because one of them might just change everything. Right now, that 1980 Lincoln penny with no mint mark in flawless condition is worth up to $980,000, and it could be sitting in your hand right now. Imagine this. You're holding a penny, dull, ordinary, forgotten in the palm of your hand. You're seconds away from tossing it into a tip jar, a couch cushion, maybe even the trash. But what if that single coin, that tiny circle of copper you barely notice, was worth nearly $1 million? And what if the reason no one's told you about it is because only a handful of people on Earth even know what to look for? This is not a legend. It's not a rumor. It's the 1988 Lincoln penny with the D mint mark, and behind its innocent shine hides one of the most astonishing mistakes in modern U.S. minting history. The story begins in Denver, 1988. Machines clanging, metal rolling, thousands of coins born every second, each one stamped with the face of Abraham Lincoln, the emblem of the United States, and a mint mark that tells the world where it came from. But in that roaring storm of production, something went terribly wrong. Someone or something Use the wrong die. A die is the steel mold that imprints the design onto a coin. When a new year begins, old dies are destroyed. But in 1988, a few old ones weren't. They slipped through. And those dies came from 1989, a year whose design was slightly, almost invisibly different. So, a few 1988 Denver pennies were accidentally struck with the wrong design. Specifically, the reverse side from the following year. It's nearly impossible to see at a glance. The lettering is sharper. The designer's initials, FG, for Frank Gasparo, sit in a slightly different place. To the naked eye, it's nothing. But to a trained collector, it's the equivalent of a fingerprint that shouldn't exist. For years, no one noticed. Millions of pennies changed hands. People bought coffee, gum, parking time, with a fortune hiding in plain sight. Then, one day, a collector scanning through a roll of pennies caught it. A tiny, almost imperceptible shift in those initials. And when that penny was authenticated, it sent shockwaves through the coin community. Because this wasn't just an error. It was proof of a crossover. A 1988 coin wearing the face of 1989. A time traveler in copper. Imagine that moment. You're sitting at your kitchen table. You've poured out a pile of change, maybe for tolls or laundry. And suddenly, one coin catches your eye. You tilt it under the light. Something about the engraving feels different. The initials, they're tucked in closer to the Lincoln Memorial. You squint. Your heart begins to race. Could it be? That feeling, that rush of electricity, that's what collectors live for. Most people never notice, but the few who do, they walk away with enough money to rewrite their future. Today, the verified 1988 D penny with the 1989 reverse is one of the most sought-after mint errors in modern American history. Auction houses have seen these coins climb into the hundreds of thousands. And with collectors and investors battling for the rarest specimens, the market value has soared, with pristine examples reaching as high as $988,000. Think about that for a moment. A coin you could find in your pocket. A coin worth nearly $1 million. But here's the real question. How many are still out there? No one knows. Somewhere in America, in an old jar, a forgotten desk drawer, a childhood collection sealed in a shoebox, one of these coins could be waiting for the right eyes to find it. So how can you tell if you have one? Start with the date 1988. Then check the mint mark under Lincoln's shoulder. It must be a D for Denver. Now flip it. Look closely at the reverse, at the base of the Lincoln Memorial. Find the designer's initials, FG. If they sit closer to the building, more compact, sharper, that's your clue. You may be staring at one of the most valuable pennies in modern history. But be warned, the difference is subtle. Don't rush. Use magnification if you can. And never, ever clean the coin. Collectors value authenticity, not shine. A single scratch can erase a fortune. Every year, people accidentally spend these coins or sell them for $1 at yard sales, unaware of the fortune slipping through their fingers. Don't let that be you. Because the truth is, wealth doesn't always arrive with fanfare. Sometimes, it hides in your pocket, in the change you almost ignore, in the everyday moments where most people never think to look. And for those who do, the reward can be life-changing. So tonight, when the world quiets down, and you empty your pockets at the end of the day, take a second. Look closely. You might not just be holding a penny, you might be holding a story, a mistake, a miracle in copper. And right now, that miracle, the 1988 D Lincoln penny with the wrong reverse, is worth up to $988,000. They said it was just another penny. A coin you could toss in a jar, forget in a drawer, lose in the couch cushions. But what if I told you that one single 1992 Lincoln penny, marked with a tiny D beneath the date, could rewrite someone's life forever? Most people have spent it without ever knowing. They handed it to a cashier, bought a stick of gum, or dropped it into a parking meter, completely unaware that they just gave away a small fortune. Because this isn't just any coin. It's one of the most mysterious, most hunted, and most misunderstood coins ever to leave the U.S. Mint. You see, in 1992, something strange happened inside the Denver Mint. A secret mistake slipped through the presses. A design transition so small, so invisible to the naked eye, that even Mint employees missed it. But collectors didn't. They call it the 1992 D-Close AM, Lincoln penny. 2 letters. That's it. And on most pennies, the A and the M in the word America are spaced apart. But in this one, they're almost touching. A subtle, almost poetic error at an accident worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. For years, this coin hid in plain sight, traveling through time, through pockets, through hands, through lives. People bought groceries with it. Kids used it for candy. And somewhere out there, perhaps even now, one still waits in someone's change bowl, unseen, unrecognized, holding the power to change everything. But let's go deeper. Why does this tiny design flaw matter so much? Because it tells a story of transition, a bridge between two eras of American coinage. In 1992, the U.S. Mint prepared new dies for the next year's design. Somehow, by chance or error, one of those 1993 proof-style designs with its tight, elegant lettering slipped into regular production. Only a handful escaped. Somewhere between 1 and 2 dozen known examples. That's rarer than some gold coins. And everyone found has sent shockwaves through the coin-collecting world. Imagine it. You're sitting at your kitchen table, sorting old change, when your thumb brushes across that copper surface. Dull, worn, familiar. Then your eyes catch it. The A and the M, closer than they should be. Your heart stops. Your hands shake, because you realize what you're holding could pay off your mortgage, your debts, maybe your entire future. It's not just metal. It's destiny. Collectors call these transitional errors. And they're some of the most coveted finds in American numismatic history, because they're accidents born from perfection. Proof that even the mighty U.S. Mint, with all its precision and order, can make a mistake so rare it becomes priceless. And here's the haunting truth. You may have already held one in your life and never known it. Think back. The year 1992. Gas was cheap. The world felt simpler. Pennies jingled in your pocket like tiny promises. One of them, maybe one you spent that summer, might now be worth more than your car, your home, even your retirement savings. Right now, collectors are searching relentlessly, scouring bank rolls, yard sales, forgotten jars, and estate boxes. Why? Because the market for this coin has exploded. One verified 1992 D-Close AM Lincoln penny has sold for nearly $100,000. And experts believe the next discovery, in pristine condition, could fetch as high as $992,000. So how do you know if you've got it? Take out your 1992 pennies. Look beneath the date. You'll see a tiny D. That's the Denver Mint. Now flip it over. Look closely at America. If the A and the M are touching or nearly touching, you may have just found one of the rarest modern coins in U.S. history. Compare it to a regular one. See the difference in spacing. And look for sharp, proof-like details. The finer, the clearer, the more valuable. But be cautious. There are countless lookalikes, worn coins, and counterfeits. If you think you've found one, never clean it, never scratch it, protect it, get it authenticated by a professional coin grading service immediately. Because one honest mistake in 1992 could now be your miracle in 2025. In every handful of change lies a hidden story, a whisper from history, a secret worth a fortune. The question is, will you listen? Don't wait until someone else finds yours. Don't assume it's gone. Every legend begins with someone who bothered to look twice. So go now. Check your pennies. Open those old jars. Revisit those collections passed down through family hands. Because as you watch this video, someone somewhere might be holding their $1 million penny, and they don't even know it yet. And maybe, just maybe, that someone is you, because right now, this exact 1992 D-Close AM Lincoln penny is worth up to $992,000, and it could be sitting quietly in your pocket. It started, as most great discoveries do, in complete silence. That a man in Ohio emptied his change jar. Just another ordinary night. And there it was, a single, dull brown penny that would soon rewrite everything he thought he knew about luck, money, and fate. It looked like nothing. Ordinary. Faded. But when he held it to the light, he saw something missing. No mint mark. Just the year. 1994. That tiny absence, one missing letter, would soon be worth more than most people make in a lifetime. What if you've already touched one of these coins and never knew? What if the very penny that could change your life forever is already lying inside your kitchen drawer waiting? The 1994 Lincoln penny with no mint mark is a ghost in plain sight. A phantom that slipped through the cracks of America's minting system, unseen and unspoken for decades. To understand why it's so valuable, we have to go back. Back to a year when copper was disappearing, when machines were faltering, and when the US Mint made a mistake it didn't want the public to know about. In 1994, every cent was supposed to bear the mark of its birthplace. Denver, Philadelphia, San Francisco. Each tiny letter meant accountability, precision, and pride. But then something went wrong. Somewhere between the dies, a series of Lincoln cents left the press without their signature.
No D.
No P. Nothing. Just silence. The error was small, almost invisible, but it broke the rules of the mint's perfection. Collectors call it the whisper coin because it doesn't shout its value. It hides it, quietly, patiently. You could walk past 100 of them and never notice. But to the trained eye, to those who understand the language of flaws, it's a masterpiece of imperfection. Imagine finding one in your hand. The edges slightly sharper. The surface cleaner, like it was struck one extra time. The field smoother. And then, the space below the date. Empty dot, that's where the mint mark should be. That empty space is your clue. For years, people tossed these away. Pennies from a forgotten year, unworthy of attention. But the truth? Some of those coins are now worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Why? Because rarity breeds obsession, and obsession breeds value. A collector once said, "The coin itself doesn't change your life. The moment you see it does." He was right, because this is more than metal. It's a doorway. Every coin tells a story, and this one tells a story of human error, timing, and fate. There are fewer of these 1994 no-mint mark pennies than anyone ever expected. The exact number is still a mystery. Some experts believe many were melted down before they ever reached circulation. Others whisper that a handful were pulled from the presses by a mint employee who realized what had just happened and chose to say nothing. Maybe it was an accident. Maybe it was destiny. But here's what you need to know. The 1994 no-mint mark penny can appear identical to millions of others until you look closer. Look for crisp details around Lincoln's ear, a deeper strike in the motto "In God We Trust," and, most important, the clean, blank space under the date. That void is your signal. You don't need special tools. Just a magnifying glass and a few quiet minutes. Flip through the pennies in your jar, one by one, because somewhere, one of those brown coins might not just be worth 1 cent. It could be worth a house. The market for mint errors and no-mark varieties has exploded in the last decade. Collectors are paying record-breaking amounts for what used to be dismissed as nothing special. One 1994 Lincoln penny with no mint mark recently stunned the auction world, selling for nearly $890,000, and now, experts believe the next one to surface could exceed $900,000, possibly even touch the $1 million mark. Think about that, a single cent that no one wanted now rewriting someone's future. Every story like this carries a message, a quiet whisper to those who are paying attention. Treasure hides in plain sight. It doesn't always shine. It doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it waits silently for the right person to look twice. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't just see coins. See history. See potential. See freedom. Because inside your change bowl could lie the key to a life you never thought possible. Somewhere in America, right now, someone is about to make that discovery. Will it be you? The 1994 Lincoln penny with no mint mark right now is worth up to $994,000, and it could be sitting in someone's pocket at this very moment. Imagine this. You're standing at a gas station buying a coffee, and you hand over a penny without thinking twice. The clerk drops it in the drawer. The sound is ordinary metal on metal, but if you had looked just a little closer, that single coin could have changed everything. Because hidden inside that moment, inside one unremarkable copper piece from 2018, lies one of the rarest, most valuable, and most misunderstood modern treasures in American coin history. They call it the 2018 Lincoln penny with the D mint mark. A coin so deceptively ordinary that millions of people have held one and never realized what they had. But there's a secret behind this penny. A mystery born not in dusty archives or ancient mints, but in the heart of the modern U.S. Mint itself, Denver, Colorado. A place where perfection is supposed to be the law, and yet, one quiet year, perfection broke. Somewhere along the production line, something went wrong. Subtle, invisible to the untrained eye. But for those who notice, those who see beyond the surface, the error reveals itself like a whisper from fate. a double die in the date, a slight misalignment in Lincoln's portrait, a ghost-like doubling along "In God We Trust" or "Liberty." Tiny, almost imperceptible distortions that tell you you're holding not a penny, but a mistake worth a small fortune. The kind of mistake that turns an everyday life into a story people talk about for generations. Here's where the story turns strange. The US Mint never admitted exactly how many slipped through. No press release, no official count. Just silence. Collectors began spotting anomalies. Faint differences in the lettering, subtle thicknesses in the rim, even coins that shimmered with an odd sheen under light. And then came the first verified discovery: a collector in Oklahoma, a man who had been searching for errors for years, noticed something off about the 2018 penny in his pocket. When he magnified it, he saw the doubling, clean, sharp, undeniable. Experts confirmed it. What had looked like a penny was now a discovery. A piece so rare that, within months, similar coins began surfacing at auctions, selling for $5, then $10, then hundreds of thousands of dollars. Because here's the truth. Rarity in coins isn't just about age. It's about anomaly, about imperfection. When the mint fails, value is born. And this coin, the 2018 Lincoln D, carries that imperfection like a secret tattoo. Most of these coins were struck perfectly. Billions, in fact. But a microscopic handful, just a few that escaped under the radar, were not. Some were off-center. Some bore doubled features. A few were struck on the wrong metal planchet entirely. Pennies made with the wrong alloy, gleaming a shade too bright or a tone too dull. Those are the ones changing lives. Think about it. A single penny worth up to $220,000 today. Not because of gold, not because of age, but because of the accident of being flawed. And what if one of them is sitting in your home right now, maybe in that jar by your bed, maybe in the glove compartment of your car, maybe tucked inside a drawer of old keepsakes from the year your kid was born, or from the last time you cleaned out your wallet and thought, it's just a penny. What if that thought cost you 6 figures? This is why collectors never look at money the same way again. They don't see coins. They see stories, metal moments where history slipped. Every scratch, every detail could be a clue to something extraordinary. So how do you know if you've got the one? Here's what to look for. Start with the date, 2018. Then, just beneath Lincoln's portrait, the D mint mark. That's Denver. Now, under a strong magnifying glass, look at "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date itself. If you see doubling, that faint echo of another impression, you might be staring at the rare double die variety. Also, check the rim. If it looks thicker on one side or oddly flattened, you could have an off-center strike. Some of the most valuable ones even show color variations, copper that looks slightly off-red with an almost satin finish. Those were struck on transitional planchets, rare blanks that slipped through by mistake. Before you rush to sell, protect it. Never clean the coin. Never rub it. Just store it carefully and get it authenticated by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. Because once confirmed, you're not just holding a coin anymore. You're holding a key to a new chapter of your life. And that's the part most people miss. This isn't just about money. It's about attention, about seeing value where others see none, about realizing that sometimes the path to freedom, real financial freedom, starts with something as small as a penny. The kind of penny that reminds you how fragile perfection really is, and how much beauty can be hidden inside a single mistake. Right now, collectors are still hunting, searching through pocket change, drawers, and jars. Somewhere out there, more of these 2018 D Lincoln pennies are waiting, forgotten, unrecognized, and worth up to $220,000 each. And maybe, just maybe, one of them is waiting for you.